You're listening to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast brought to you by Nottinghamshire Live.
Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Garibaldi Red, the Nottingham Forest podcast from Nottinghamshire Live. And we are back as the roadshow continues after last week being in Birmingham, where producer Dan was ill. And producer Dan is back, but we are not back in Birmingham. We are in
working from home.
Well, our houses. Yeah, our houses. So yeah, I, Matt Davis, am sat at home, and Sarah Clapson is sat in her flat, unfortunately. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Matt.
Hello. It's a bit of a nightmare technical-wise. We're doing this via the medium of Skype, and neither of us have used Skype before.
No.
We're still working it out with video, so we're audio only this week, but hopefully we'll get that back and be sort of back to normal soon, although obviously nothing's normal at the moment. How are you doing with it all, Sarah?
It's crazy and uncertain times, isn't it, for everybody, I think. Not just football wise, but everything really. It's challenging times.
I know. I've eaten one of my pot noodles, which was meant to be for emergencies only, but works very busy. And I was going to say other brands are available, but they're not really, because everything's
There's nothing available.
I know. There's nothing available at all. Trying to buy anything, it's all a bit like one of those kind of apocalyptic movies at the moment.
It is, yeah. I feel like I'm in the Hunger Games or something. Obviously I'm not, but...
We'll try and talk about some football, because I sort of at the moment it all feels a bit insignificant in a way, but hopefully sports still plays a part in terms of distracting people a little bit, hopefully. So we'll try and inform and entertain, I guess, talking a lot about Forest, starting with what are your thoughts on the decision to cancel it, Sarah? With this time last week, it was all kicking off with Forest, and then they tested negative for the coronavirus, fortunately, the players, and then by Friday the games are off. What did you think about the whole process that came about and the actual decision to call off the games?
Yeah, I think it was the right decision in the end. You've got to put health and safety first, and you've got to put the public and the players' safety first. If there's any kind of doubt around it, then you've got to do the right thing, and the right thing was to postpone all games. I think it was the fact that we was waiting so long for a decision. I say so long, it was only a few days, but waiting a while for a decision to be made. There was that kind of period of uncertainty, and whether the Sheffield Wednesday game was off and on and off and on. It was so difficult to know, because we were just waiting for the decision, and eventually it came. And yeah, you don't like to see football games get postponed. You don't like to be going for weeks or however long without football, but there's bigger things, there's bigger priorities, and I think you just have to take that on board. Yeah,
I did find it a bit annoying that it took a celebrity or famous person to get it, in terms of Mikel Arteta and then Callum HudsonOdoi, and there was suddenly someone in the Premier League got it. Oh well, no one can play now. I mean, the process to get there seemed very muddled, and you can lay the blame in lots of different places. Obviously, it's very difficult for everyone in unprecedented times, but to have it happen the way it did so late in the day was a kind of worrisome. That's an American word. I hate American words. Yeah, it was a little bit troubling, but I think they got to the right decision in the end.
Yeah, I think so. It was just it took a while to get there, didn't it? And it's for the integrity of the league, isn't it? If you've got players or managers that have tested positive and can't participate, you can't just have one team or one manager missing out. It then kind of becomes unfair for everybody, and it just has a knock-on effect. So I think they had to do the right thing, and yeah, eventually they did.
And now it leaves us in this kind of stasis kind of situation with football, where it's they're saying April the 3rd, but I think we all know, I think everyone in football probably knows it's not going to be April the 3rd when games come back. What do you think? The season has to be played even if it takes 6 months, if it takes a year, or do we void it? What do you think?
I think you've got, if where possible and where it's safe and practical to do so, I think you've got to try and finish the season, however long that takes, and hopefully we can get back to playing soon and we can get it finished soon. I think the fact that they've moved the European Championships to next year, that then obviously it doesn't directly affect Forest and kind of lower level football, but it does in a way, because it gives you that bit of breathing space and that bit of room. So they've got a few months or weeks now beyond what was expected, where we can hopefully get back to playing games. I think it just creates so many problems if you don't. You're creating so many difficulties and potentially legal problems with if you decided to call the season off, or if you decided that this team was going up because they finished top and this team was going down because they were bottom. You'd have so many problems then because of that. It just seems like the kind of best of the worst solutions, I suppose, really. Just the one that would create the least problems is if you just get it done.
Yeah, I think you have to get it done, because I mean, if I'm Evangelos Marinakis and they void the season, then you have to take legal action, surely.
You'd be livid.
Yeah, you'd have every club. You'd have Liverpool, the 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 13 clubs in the Championship would be in the same position. Then you go cascading down all the way into the National League. I suppose there's so much money on the line. I think you could void the cups for a year or even 2, but you have to, just for the process of moving on when football does come back, I think you have to finish the season no matter how long it takes, really.
Yeah, I think so. From Forest's perspective, if they were to miss out on a chance of promotion, because I know it's obviously a big issue, but for something like this, they'd be so frustrated. And quite rightly, they would try and seek legal action, I would have thought, or any teams in their position would, because to miss out on a chance for promotion, to miss out on a chance to go to the Premier League is huge. It's not very often that you're in this kind of position, and you wouldn't want to let that go easily.
No, and I did actually go and look back at tables for the last 5 years, very sadly, and to see how much they actually change. And generally, they don't change at all in terms of the top 6 now. It tends to be the top 6 come the end of the season, and it does tend to be the top 2 that stay the same. There's very few changes. I'm going to have to cough, sorry. I don't think I've got it, but you never know.
At least we're in separate rooms.
Yeah, we're very far away, yeah. So obviously Leeds and West Brom, historically, they would be the 2 that go up. I look back over the 5 years, like I said, and Leeds were the only team to bottle it, I suppose, 1 year, and Derby as well. But generally, where Forest are now, in 5th, they do tend to finish 4th or 5th, based on history. So, they'd have such a strong case that they've been really, what's the term I could use, messed up by the authorities. If they don't have a fair crack at it, it'll be just gutting for everyone in football connected to the club.
Yeah, I mean, so much effort and everything goes into it. You would hate for that all to think that the last few months have just been for nothing and you don't get anything for it. That would just be awful. It would be terrible for the players and all the management and the staff that all that goes to waste if they decide to void the season. I can't see it. I really hope that they'll just push on and finish the season.
So if it's not April, when do you realistically think that it will be seeing people play again?
It's so difficult to say, isn't it? It just, the whole situation just seems to change all the time, and things are so fluid, and you've got to make it. When do you make that call? When do you say, well, we're at a point where we're able to get teams out there and get managers out there and fans out there? It's a really, really difficult call to make. I don't know how I wouldn't like to be in anybody's shoes deciding that. But I think early April, at the minute, that seems like that might come a bit too soon. I think it's probably going to be beyond that, if we're being a bit realistic about it. Hopefully not. Hopefully we're wrong and Forest do come back and play Derby, but I can't see it at the moment, just because of the speed and the pace at which the general situation is developing.
Yeah, I can't. Well, I mean, I don't think it'll be till August or September, really, when you talk about the illness peaking in the summer. And obviously, none of us in society are medical experts, really, to that extent.
No.
But so it's kind of foolhardy to speculate too much. But from watching the news as much as I have been, which is way too much, I need to stop watching the news so much.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like we're going to be doing anything anytime soon, apart from working out everything we haven't watched on Netflix, really.
Yeah, I mean, UEFA are saying they would hope that leagues are done by June 30th, but I don't know whether that's still realistic or not. I think even if they do get back playing a little bit before then, there's still quite a few games to fit in, and you've got to players are going to have to get back to full fitness. Obviously, they're still working on their fitness at the moment, but they're not going to be as match sharp as what they would have been had we kept playing. And you've got to kind of take that into account. I know it's a level playing field and everybody's going to be in the same situation, but you don't want players to be going out there when they're not fully fit.
No, true. And I suppose there's also like the financial impact. I guess it's not so direct on a club like Forest. I mean, obviously it's going to cost them a lot of money, but clubs lower down the league are going to suffer. Businesses connected to football are going to suffer, like social clubs and pubs around grounds. There's kind of that hidden, unseen impact, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, really, the economic impact for all clubs, really. It's not just the club itself, it's everything that goes with it. So you look at businesses around the ground on match days, pubs and cafes and people at work at the club, not just the kind of staff that we see day to day, but the stewards, the programme sellers, the catering staff, everything like that, it all has a huge impact. And yeah, the further down the Football League ladder you go, the greater the impact that's going to have, because of it. Clubs are so cash strapped as it is. You'd hope that some Premier League clubs or clubs that have the right amount of money can help in some small way and support the teams further down the ladder that are really struggling.
And when you come to talk about, contracts, I suppose would be the other big issue. At Forest, it's especially prevalent with, the head coach's contract expires on June 30th. I guess, he's not going to walk away and they're not going to get rid of him. But you've also got Ben Watson, Michael Dawson, Sammy Amiobi is the most prominent players who are out of contracts at the end of June. Ben Aluan and a few, Jordan Smith, players who are more on the fringes. What's going to happen with them,
players.
do you think?
Yeah,
yes,
loan
exactly,
players.
Yeah. How do you see that panning out?
It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, at Premier League level, I don't think, or I've seen a stat that there's not too many players that are out of contract at the end of June, but the further down the ladder you go, the more you've got loan players and players that are coming to the end of their deals. And there's going to have to be some kind of collective decision whereby, I don't know if they can allow them to sign a short-term deal to finish the games, or if they can extend things in some way. Somebody's going to have to step in and make some kind of overriding decision that's going to be of benefit to lots in this kind of situation, because you don't want to get to June the 30th when they're possibly just starting back playing and all of a sudden you're left without so many players because they're all out of contract. There's got to be some kind of solution.
You can't even say, for argument's sake, we're going to extend every contract by a month, because in the Premier League you've got players who lining up big Bosman moves who could net themselves millions of pounds. They were getting injured. Then lower down the ladder, you've got blokes who are making, decent money, but probably not more than the average Joe on the street. They're going to need some kind of clarity. They don't want to play for another month where they could break their legs or anything. So
no, exactly.
What if you're Ben Watson and you played 45 games for Forest this season, and they say, we're going to give you another month to get you through the season, then we might release you. Well, you're going to turn around and say something to them, aren't you?
Yeah. So, you'll probably say no thanks.
Yes, in sort of terms like that, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to want at least another year, aren't you? So
yeah,
it's just, some solicitors might be making a lot of money soon, but there's a lot of questions across the board around that area, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, at least in regards to some of the players that Forest have got out of contract, players like Michael Dawson, Ben Watson, Sammy Amiobi, they might be the kind of players that Forest perhaps would look at maybe offering a new deal to anyway. Certainly Michael Dawson, because Sabrina Moochie has spoken very highly of him and how he wants him involved with the club at whatever level, because of the influence that he has. And Ben Watson too, I mean, he's had a really good season. He's been fantastic in midfield. And I know that they're kind of getting to the wrong side of 30 maybe, but they've still got something to offer, I think. So I think those kind of players Forest maybe would look at. The loan players, I'm not sure there's too many of the loan players that they would perhaps be looking to hang on to.
No, Bostock's come back into it, hasn't he? And Samido's
Samido's
there's
been...
not really anyone else.
Smeado's been a bit up and down for me. One minute he started off really well. He looked really good, and then recently he just kind of tailed off a little bit.
Oh yeah, since he came back from
No, he hasn't. Diakabi, I'm pretty sure Forest won't be taking up the option on him. He's not really made the impact that everybody was hoping for. He's really struggled. I think he's just lacking confidence more than anything, and that's difficult to kind of put right. Aro Muric, I can't see him staying on. Since if he did, he'd just be in the exact same position next year. He'd be sat on the bench and back up to Brice Samba. And I don't think that's what he or Manchester City would particularly want. They sent him out on loan looking to get game time, and obviously that hasn't transpired. So I'd be surprised if he comes back. Can't think of any of the others that we've missed out.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Would now be a good time to, a bit of a boost for the fans to say announce a new contract for Moochie, maybe? It seems like a good time in a sense.
It would go down well, wouldn't it? We kind of all need that kind of good news at this time. Yeah, I mean, all the time they've been saying, well, the focus is on promotion. We're not looking at anything else because we don't want to distract from that. But at the minute, while there's this enforced break, yeah, it seems like a great time to do it. Give spirits a lift. So, well, we've got him tied down now. We can, once football resumes, we're fully focused. We can go again and everything's sorted. That would be brilliant. I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it, because of the wider situation, I suppose. But yeah, this would be perfect timing.
In a world devoid of actual news for us to talk about, there was some news this week with the kind of update around the development of the Peter Taylor stand and everything that's going on there. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, because there's been no planning approval granted yet, Forest have had to put back the work. They've said that it's not going to take place this summer now, so they're allowing season card holders to renew. So it looks like it'll be moved back at least a year, because they're giving fans the chance to renew their seats. It's a shame, but I think you kind of have to respect the decision and say, well, there hasn't been planning approval yet, so time's running out and Forest have to make a decision. And obviously with the kind of uncertainty about when the season would finish anyway, they'd probably have to adjust the timescale because of that. I know the decision they made isn't specifically related to the coronavirus, but it probably played a part in it. And yeah, it's sad and it's a shame, but it probably seems sensible in the circumstances.
Yeah, I suppose certainty is the one thing that's lacking for everyone at the moment in all walks of life. So at least if they can get something sorted as a business, it probably lets them know where they're going a bit more.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to stress is that they've not said we're not doing it. They've not cancelled it. They've not said, oh, we're putting this on the back burner, it's not going to happen. They're still very much committed to the redevelopment of the City Ground. Ever since he came in, Evangelos Marinakis has stressed his backing for the club long term, and that hasn't changed. They're still hoping that this, or planning for this to go ahead. They're just waiting for this planning approval to go through. And it seems like there's been a few issues surrounding that. If they can correct them and hopefully eventually get it passed, then I'm sure it'll be all guns blazing, all go ahead again next year, hopefully.
So what's your coronavirus survival plan? What are you doing to hunker down? Have you been panic buying?
No, I haven't been buying toilet roll by the trolley load.
The bucket loads, no.
Yeah. No, I don't know really. It's just trying to block out the news and carry on and watch a lot of TV, eat a lot of chocolate. Probably going to put on about 5 stone by the end of it because obviously not being able to go out as much. My
doctor told me to lose weight this week.
Did it? Good luck with that.
Said, you need to lose a stone. I was like, I can't even go out of my house at the moment. Run circles around my garden like my dog used to do when I was a kid, but there's not much else you can do.
No, I'm really hoping that with the Euros cancelled, or with the no actual live sport on TV, that somebody's going to show Euro 96 or France 98 or something, screen all the games so that we can at least watch some kind of sport and throw back to more carefree times and enjoy that. I think you realise how much you miss sport when there's absolutely nothing to watch. Right now, I'd watch anything. Just
I
because
know.
there's nothing.
There's that funny video of the pub with the bowls on. Have you seen that on Twitter?
Yeah, or the marble racing.
Yes, that's what it's coming to. I know.
Yeah. I think it hopefully we'll appreciate it all the more once we get sport back and realise how much how important it is to our lives, and hopefully maybe people might be a bit more. I'm trying to think of the right word. Think what they tweet. Yeah, a bit more appreciative.
God,
think about what they tweet more. Yeah, maybe.
That's not going to happen, is it?
Maybe we can have less people moaning about the team news or results, because we'll all appreciate sport all the more. Maybe.
Yeah. Whether João Carvalho starts on the bench or on the left or on the pitch, probably as significant as things at the moment.
No, exactly. Yeah, and hopefully we'll appreciate it when it comes back.
I've crafted a survival plan. I mean, I crafted this survival plan, 15 years ago when The Walking Dead started, I think, in the absence of being able to build a bunker. I think I would definitely head for the hills. I aim for the Scottish Highlands if I could get there. Full tank of petrol, car loaded up, full on survival. Use my what's the scouting award that I got when I was a teenager? I can't even remember. It's that long ago. Put that to good use. Bunker down in the Scottish Highlands like Mel Gibson in Braveheart, without what happened to him in the end. Ride out the storm. That's my plan.
I thought you'd have a bunker ready to go and full of all
the builders are in. Fortunately, being at home and having a kitchen being built, we've managed to avoid the background noise of drills and everything that's been going on for ages. But I haven't asked them to build a bunker. I wish I had done now.
Yeah.
I've got my stock of pot noodles and dried rice. I couldn't get any pasta.
Have you got your toilet roll?
Yeah, I did. Oh gosh, I feel like I'm the scourge of society. I did buy 16 toilet rolls in a pack, yeah. And also, I can't give away where I live because the local shop has promised to look after me with, he's got some toilet rolls behind the counter.
Oh, a bit of black market business.
Well, he said he'll sell me them at, cost value. Old people, he said, have to come first, which is right, obviously. But he was telling me last night I'll look after his regulars. Not yet. He said he's going to look after his regulars. So if I run out of toilet rolls, then he can sell me a 4-pack of toilet rolls to help me survive the apocalypse.
Give it a few weeks, you'll be paying 100 quid for them.
I know. I'll be taking wheelbarrows of £5 notes into the one stop. Yeah. Oh, edit that out, producer Dan. There's only so many one stops around where I live. I don't want people to know about this toilet roll supply.
You've got a secret stock.
Yeah, because we don't have a kitchen. The spare room has got all of our secret stash. And I've drawn the curtains so the neighbours can't see in. They don't know how many packs of Uncle Ben's rice I've got stocked away.
You're well prepared.
I am well prepared. My parents came back from holiday. I was advised, they cut their holiday short. And my dad went to the supermarket last night, and I said, "Oh, did you get loads of stuff in?" And all they got was like milk and butter. And then they went back to they've been to 5 supermarkets today around Telford where I grew up, and they finally got some stuff in. I don't think they're grasping I say they're not grasping what's going on. I think I'm overly grasping what's going on. I need to stop watching the news. That's the problem.
Better to be prepared. That was the Brownie Guide motto, always be prepared. Was it the Cub Scout motto? Or Brownie Guide motto? I can't remember. But
it's both.
Probably both. Yeah. You don't need a 10p in your little purse anymore for phone calls, so you have to replace that with pot noodles.
Did you used to carry around a 10p in your purse for the phone boxes?
Yeah, for the fact in case you had to make an emergency phone call. 10p and a plaster and a safety pin.
What?
Yeah, they were your emergency supplies.
A safety pin?
A safety pin in case you ever needed to, safety pin something, I suppose.
I've never heard that. Okay, well.
That's what we were taught in Brownies anyway. 10p for making emergency phone calls, a plaster in case you obviously needed a plaster, and a safety pin for whatever you may need a safety pin for.
I think they should have advised you to carry around more money, really, shouldn't they? rather than a 10p. Enough for a taxi home or something would be better.
Yeah, I suppose. It was simpler
well.
times. Simpler times. It was just the red phone boxes. That was your only way of making phone calls, I suppose, or contacting anybody.
True. Anyway, we've gone off on an absolutely horrendous tangent. So
You can tell there's no football, can't you?
I know, with what we've come to talk to. So that brings us to the end of another Patch Together episode. But once we kind of get our head around Skype and videos and everything, then we'll try and get some guests on. We had a really good guest lined up for today, and he's isolating himself, which is understandable, so he couldn't do it. But we will be back next week, and hopefully sort of on track. It's been a bit of a calamitous episode this week, so I do apologise for that. But if you did like it, and I'm not sure why you would, but hopefully you did, please give us a good rating on YouTube or Apple Podcasts. 5 stars would be fantastic. You can subscribe there and get this straight into your inbox. And we do really appreciate that. So thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Matt. I'm sure people appreciate the survival advice.
They should
Maybe.
do. That was for free. They don't have to pay anything for that. And they can realise how bad it was and make their own much better plans.
Yeah.
So we will be back for episode 8 next week. Thank you very much for listening, and we will catch you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode. Thanks for listening.